Starting at guard, a noun, a group acting together as a whole to achieve greatness. Collective. At forward, a noun, the game of skill, speed, and strategy played on the hardwood, and the conflict at the center of a galactic showdown between cartoons and aliens. Basketball! And anchoring the paint, a noun, a negotiated understanding between parties. From peace treaties to pick and rolls, human beings must reach them before turning ideas into reality. Agreements. And now, your host of the Collective Basketball Agreements podcast from Syracuse, New York, journalist, lawyer, business person, brother, son, and friend, Joe Manganiello.
Welcome back to the Collective Basketball Agreements podcast. Today's episode is a little different. It's a reflection, a season wrap-up, and a chance to share some words about the influences and considerations that have been shaping me lately. I'm your host, Joe Manganiello. I want to note right at the top that this is going to be the final episode of Season 1. And the podcast will be on a hiatus for an indefinite period of time. Now, if you're listening, you are probably fighting back tears. You're frantically sitting down, standing up, asking yourself why. Well, all joking aside, I'd like to suggest more than explain. Or rather, I'm going to hope to show and not tell, so to speak, over the coming months and years. This decision isn't made lightly. It's just the best decision for me. And so if you know me, then let's stay in dialogue. Happy to always be a voice and a listener. And maybe that's even kind of an artful way of saying that my heart really isn't in doing this podcast right now. I can't speak to forever. But this project started at a certain time in my life, and I'm entering a new phase of my life. And so I want to wrap up this first season with grace and open myself up to all sorts of new possibilities as I close the door on things I don't need anymore and welcome everything that's meant for me. You know, truthfully, I thought this medium would be an area of passion for me. It used to be. You know, I've done podcasts in the past. The best, absolute best, sports media venture that I ever was a part of outside of my 4 years professionally with the Watertown Daily Times as a newspaper journalist and an online, sports writer. My favorite podcast I ever did was Suits and Sidelines. Shout out to Arun Thattakara, one of my best friends, my partner in crime, from the law school days, 2-time finalist at the Tulane Pro Basketball Negotiation Competition, 2021 champs. You know, what he and I did during our 3L year at Villanova Law School in the midst of the pandemic was very special. In fact, he and I still get hit up to this day, people that were fans of the show and wanted to see it continue. And professionally, he and I had to move on. And maybe I thought that I'd be able to capture that magic with the solo podcast. And, quite frankly, it just didn't go that way for me. It wasn't an area of passion the way I thought it was going to be. I think a big part of that is social media and competing for attention and clicks on the internet. It just isn't for me. It's not an area that I feel I need to be spending all that time in and wading in those waters. And, right now, particularly in the American media, I just don't want to live in these digital infrastructures that were built to generate profit for people with certain motives and really just sowing angers and frustrations, that's not where I shine. That's not where I am my best. And quite frankly, I won't be able to compete with people who want to be in those spaces and want to play that game. So instead, I want to lean into my passion for people. I want to look into involving myself more directly with people and working with others and shaping the reality around me and within my communities. From here on out, that's what I want to do with my life and career. If a podcast or any other media venture proves worthy of my larger missions and my values, most importantly, then I would welcome that opportunity, as I would welcome any other opportunity. Right now I'm learning how to say yes more and say no less. But in this case, I have to say no to something that just wasn't quite for me. For today, I know that I need to cut out any and all things unnecessary as I learn to meet my needs first and foremost as my primary concern, to take the best possible care of myself and build sustainable joy in my life and career. So I want to thank my friends Navzad Dabu and Mark Weatherup and Chi Vu for all of their contributions creatively to the podcast. Chi's incredible designs were, really brought this vision to life, at the end of 2024. And as I was preparing to launch my first episodes of 2025, she's an incredible artist. Literally today, I was sharing within my basketball network a caricature that she made of me back when I was selling season ticket memberships for the New York Liberty, and I still have that framed and keep it with me wherever I go. Navzad Dabu for his music. Shout out to the band Ox Hunt. They're actually I can spoil. They're going to be recording album number 2 this winter. Watch out, watch out. And Mark Weatherup, a longtime friend, an incredible actor and voice actor. For his contributions. You heard it one last time at the top of this episode for our creative and fun intro to the podcast. So I want to thank them for what they provided me. And for this wrap up, I want to start with the words of Kendrick Lamar. Anyone who knows me knows he's my favorite artist, and so it felt right to sort of go to one of his best works to sort of cite this kind of larger rationale or for these choices I'm making right now. I'm going to end up quoting a philosophy from Coach K, basketball legend, obviously, the former Duke men's basketball coach. And then I'm going to share most of a post that I put on LinkedIn, the one social media that I still use because we're all sort of beholden to one or the other. I like to make the joke. I have a Google Pixel. Anyone that texts me knows that my texts don't show up the right color. And I like to make the joke that, it's the monopoly I chose. So if you're listening to this podcast on an Apple phone and it cuts out, you'll know why. We choose the monopolies for us, I guess, in this 21st century. But, I'll share words from that LinkedIn post about my own journey. And then I'm going to close with where I am today and what might be ahead for me. As I get a little older, I realize life is perspective. And my perspective may differ from yours. I want to say thank you to everyone that's been down with me. All my fans, all my beautiful fans. Anyone who's ever gave me a listen. All my people. Kendrick continues, quote, celebrate new life when it come back around. The purpose is in the lessons we learnin' now. Sacrifice personal gain over everything just to see the next generation better than ours, end quote. Those lyrics are from The Heart Part 5, released in 2022. Shout out to the Marvin Gaye estate for letting Kendrick use that incredible sample. I come back to that song and really that entire Mr. Morale in the Worldwide Steppers era for Kendrick all the time. If you're curious, Mr. Morale might just be my second favorite Kendrick album now. I go back and forth. Everyone knows I'm a damn guy. If you've ever heard me, talk at length about Kendrick, I'm a damn guy, number 1. Good Kid, Mad City is probably my number 2, and then I think Mr. Morale's number 3 for me now. But that, stressing that perspective is everything for us humans. We have the subjective reality that we have, and we do our best to grow our knowledge and grow that perspective. But perspective and purpose aren't given to us. We have to earn it through challenges, through setbacks, through sacrifice. If our values are right and just, we can build a life to be proud of no matter what happens to us. And when I was younger, I don't know that I fully grasped that. And that doesn't make me much different than anybody else. If we were doomed to just repeat the mistakes of our youth over and over again, that wouldn't be that exciting of a life. So at 33 years old, I'm very proud of everything that I've been through, and I'm excited about what's going to come. And I believe what's meant for me is meant for me. Let me continue because I want to combine this idea about life being a matter of perspective with one of my favorite quotes from, the basketball world, the culture that I've chosen, the culture that I've found in my life. Coach K said, quote, "In basketball and in life, I have always maintained the philosophy of next play." Essentially, what it means is that what you have just done is not nearly as important as what you're doing right now. To waste time lamenting a mistake or celebrating success is distracting and can leave you and your team unprepared for what you are about to face. Basketball is a game that favors the quick thinker and the person who can go on to the next play the fastest. That's a beautiful philosophy I carry with me in basketball, in law, in business, in life. Perspective and the next play. Those two ideas feel inseparable for me right now. And that wasn't always the case. I was really devastated that I was halfway through law school when the pandemic hit here in America, and I was stuck in my bedroom. I had invested so much time, money, energy, resources in this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I was really, really upset that things weren't working out the way I had planned. And it was the first time truly that I was confronted with the fact that my life wasn't going to just be in a straight line. Just because I'm a nice guy, just because I do the best I can to show up for myself and others. And I wasn't ready to learn those lessons then. These 5 years have been humbling, and it's been necessary. I think we all have to accept that life humbles us, and it makes us better. It makes us better. These are some words that I wrote recently. The human experience is shaped by trials, setbacks, and sacrifice. Since I graduated from Villanova Law, between the years 2018 and 2021, I've been tested by large forces I was not prepared for. The pandemic, an unforgiving job market, copious forms of rejection. Far from the self-conviction of my youth, I doubted myself in ways that I couldn't always understand. And yet, what I realize better today is that I gained so much strength on this journey. Resilience in mind, body, and spirit. And I never stopped working on my craft. Even this past summer, in a season of unemployment, I poured myself into researching and writing professional memorandums for WNBA agents and teams on future CBA negotiations, on the history of expansion in American sports, and on the roster-building patterns of past WNBA expansion teams. I've also been finding new ways to serve others and stay grounded. Back home in Syracuse, I substitute teach to connect with the young people of my community. I shadow and volunteer with a respected coach in upstate New York who has generously shared his time and wisdom with me for years, reminding me that growth happens in service and humility. And I've never walked alone. Friends and mentors like Stephen Neff, Tim Edwards, Chris Robinson, and Arun Thatakara have been in my corner for years. Going back to Villanova and to the days I was competing and winning in the Tulane Pro Basketball Negotiation Competition, their belief in me has fueled my own, a reminder that no one chases big dreams alone. I want to take a second to thank Mariana Llamas. I'll say briefly, this is a person that I met in 2019 in Philadelphia, and she and I have been through a lot. And I want to thank her because she's probably listening to this episode and in general has been, my biggest supporter during this podcast project. Life is full of twists and turns, but I am very, very grateful that she and I have been able to help each other over the years and be a part of each other's lives. And because this podcast was created in large part because of her support, I want to thank her. And Mariana, if you're listening, I'd like to think that I've helped you become a bigger basketball fan, and hopefully you'll enjoy the Golden State Valkyrie games in the years to come. They could use your support, and you'll enjoy wearing the purple. I know it. I want to thank my family, my brothers, my best friends. I just recently had a chance, year 11 of the Johnny Flynn Comebackers Fantasy Basketball League. I'm the commissioner of a very, very, very nerdy fantasy basketball league, very intricate. Yes, we do have a constitution. Yes, we do have forums where we propose new league rules that are controversial and highly contested, hotly contested. But, recently, a bunch of us were able to get together in person down in the Poconos. We did our draft. We celebrated life. 4 of the members of the league are fathers now with their own young families. We're already talking and speculating that someday we'll have a JFC youth league. Maybe we can throw some bets on or something. But, these loved ones and these relationships are so precious to me, more precious today than they've ever been. And as I reestablish myself in the Northeast and on the East Coast, it's very important to me that, the people that love me most and respect me most see me, hear from me, and I haven't always been that guy. Sometimes I've retreated into, these periods of confusion or uncertainty. So one of the things I'm most excited about is really coming out of my shell after a period of uncertainty and embracing that I'm exactly the man that the people who love me most want me to be, and I'm committed to that every day. And so in connecting some of these dots and wrapping things up, Coach Mike Krzyzewski's next play philosophy has always stuck with me. What matters most isn't the mistake or even the success that just happened. It's how you meet the moment that comes next. That's what counts. Basketball is more than a game to me. It's a culture, a community, a family I belong to. I'm passionate about sports because I'm passionate about people. Leadership, culture, community, building for the future generations. Trusting in my faith and my relationship with God over everything. Life is perspective. The future is the next play, and I'm ready for both. And so in wrapping up season 1, I'll say that, this season was about laying a foundation, telling stories, exploring ideas, learning out loud. Of course, it was about talking about the NBA and the WNBA and trades and signings and the goings on of a business of basketball that never stops. For me, as uncertain as the past years of my life have been, the reason why I find myself talking about this sport and the larger business of basketball every day with people in my network and my friends and family and whoever can tolerate me foaming at the mouth about this or that trade, et cetera, is because it inspires me endlessly to talk about my favorite athletes and my favorite artists and people who are pouring everything they can into their values and what they love. I think that's the goal of being alive for this short time that we're all alive, is to find the people and the passions and to celebrate that. And so, my growth, I'm going to measure over the arc of time in resilience, in commitment to craft, in community cultivated. These are the measurements. These are the KPIs that I care about. And so if there ever is a season 2 of the CBA podcast, I imagine it digging even deeper into basketball transactions, leadership, good, bad, and otherwise, perspectives on the industry, understanding the culture of basketball in as deep and as wide a way as I can. I imagine bringing even more voices into these conversations and finding more ways of connecting basketball to life. Everything's about gratitude and positive energy for me. So I say, thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, thank you for being a part of this attempt by me to build something of my own. And just because it's going to be on hiatus now, watch out for all the things that come. I'm certainly not. I'm not going anywhere. If anything, I want to be more accessible and more rooted in the realities around me, in the physical. And so here's some simple, heartfelt final thoughts. You might recognize some of the lyricism that I'm quoting here. This has been season 1 of the Collective Basketball Agreements podcast. The human experience is all a matter of perspective. The future is nothing but the next play, and I'm ready for it all. I deserve it all. Whatever is meant for me is meant for me. And I promise to reap what I sow, but to only ever take as much as I can grab with 2 hands. Shout out to Florence Welsh, Florence and the Machine. If you want to talk, just give me a call, and you'll always get me, but if they catch me, don't forget me, resurrect me. John 10:10. Shout out to the Clips, Pusha T, Malice. All right. One more Kendrick quote. This one's also from the Heart Part 5. Celebrate me with respect. The unity we protect is above all. And to all my basketball people, stay passionate, stay active, and know that I want you too.